Okay.
There we go. We are recording. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. So uh, I was telling about judgment. Okay. So I see more judgment than observation and acknowledgement. In fact, people are different from each other, and sometimes the differences make people jump to this kind of attitude of judgment, as well as intolerance. So many times the differences between people are not accepted and recognized as things that are useful for complementarity. And when egos start to get into the equation, the judgment and intolerance comes in, and it is very difficult sometimes for people to work together because they don't integrate well the differences between them, especially if there are conflicts resulting from those differences. And I also see more qualification than understanding or deep understanding. Our languages are so full of adjectives, and usually those adjectives that we use to describe and to qualify people already have a lot of meanings, and some of those meanings are very heavy. So I think we all grow with all these qualifiers in our heads, and sometimes we point them into ourselves, and sometimes we leave it with blame and guilt, and it's not helpful for our process of growing. So because of all these, I needed to find a way of helping people acknowledge their characteristics, their differences, and to integrate it in a way that wouldn't be judgmental, that it wouldn't be harshly interpreted, and would really help people to understand what it is as it is, instead of putting the good or the bad meaning on it. And since I was working with these Diospyros, and before using this framework that I will share with you, I was already working with the 8 arms or 8 talents needed for organizations, and suddenly I saw that Bagua, that I will also share with you, that the Bagua was really helping me to get deeper in those differences and the understanding of those talents. So Diospyros, you see here the photo of the Diospyros, and over the image of the Diospyros, you see Bagua. Bagua is a framework of 8 trigrams, and those trigrams represent 8 phenomena of nature. And it's a very, very old framework from Chinese philosophy. It is about 5,000 years old. And they initially used it as the basis for an oracle, but nowadays it's used for many things, including feng shui, tai chi chuan, and many other things of the Chinese culture, because it can be it's really versatile the way you can use this, and you will understand better as I explain it, okay? So I was expecting to have some Brazilians here in this presentation, but unfortunately I can't see any. So I have a translation of everything that is in English. I put in Portuguese too. So that's why you see in gray, in gray lettering, you see the Portuguese words for the words that you have in black in English. Okay, so the elements, the trigrams, correspond to 8 different phenomena of nature. And those elements, those phenomena are the sky, wind, water, mountain, earth, thunder, fire, and lake. The names that you see in Chinese on the left, written in yellow or light orange, Qian, Sun, Kan, Zhen, Kun, Zhen, Lin, Du, are the Chinese names for the trigrams, okay? They don't mean, for example, Qian doesn't mean sky, and Sun doesn't mean wind. Those are the names of the trigrams you have on the left, and those trigrams are just the 3 strokes that can be yang strokes if they are not interrupted, or yin strokes if they are interrupted. So the non-interrupted strokes, the yang strokes correspond to action, and the yin strokes correspond to receptivity. So that's why it's also used in martial arts and other things, because there are active movements and defensive movements, and well, it has to do with the qi, so important in the Chinese culture. So those Chinese names are not exactly translations of the elements, but the elements are attributed to each trigram. So the trigrams have different kinds of energy, and that energy is related to each of the 8 phenomena. So there is an energy for sky, an energy or an essence for wind, an essence for water, and that's how I found it useful, because as a coincidence, it translated very easily in what I was using as the 8 talents needed for teams to work. Okay, so it was a very good coincidence, and that's why I started using it. It's everything clear until this moment? May I proceed? Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Nothing.
no questions.
Yeah, no one is complaining now. So let me explain to you what is the essence of each of those elements. I won't explain it by their order, because they are represented. If the sky, as you see, is the one above all. Okay, it would be the first one, then the wind, then the water, then the mountain. But it happens that they work as opposites. As you can see in the trigrams, when you have a yang line in one place, you have a yin line on the other side. You see? So the opposite of the sky is exactly the earth. You have 3 yang lines on the sky, and you have 3 yin lines on earth. And that's what happens with all the trigrams. When you go to the opposite way, you have the total opposite energy. So it makes this model quite heuristic. So I can share with you later how it is so easy to understand what kind of energy a person is putting out, and what energy is lacking there. So instead of becoming stuck to certain patterns, when we acknowledge this, the pattern we are stuck to, we can consciously move to the other side. That's okay, I need more this kind of energy, but I will explain you later a little bit better. So let's start with the sky, and then we will talk about the opposite, okay? The sky, Qian, the Chinese also call it the creative, okay? So I invite you to think a little bit, to look inside yourselves and see what you associate with the sky. As for me, I'm sharing here what I see, what as I interpret the sky, but any of us could attribute different meanings to the sky as an element. Okay, so I organized here characteristics that I see that have meaning for me, and also have meaning for most of the people I've been working with. Because when I do presential sessions about Diospyros, I usually ask people to share what they feel about each element. What does the element mean for them? And this is what I put here is the result of the most consensual meanings that we find in these sessions. Okay, so sky is often associated with the infinite. It's all in potential because all the galaxies come from the sky, comprehends all the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, and contains all that exists. All the matter, all the atoms, all the energy is in the sky. So it is just converted and put in different planets, different systems, okay? But everything is already in the sky. That's why its potential is so huge. Well, Chinese call it the creative, and I wouldn't say it's the artistic creativity that is here, but well, it could also be. But I see it more the creativity as the capability of innovation that we have, because we can see this energy on human beings, and somehow this energy, and if we relate with the three young lines, it means that it's action, action, action. It's actually something like me, my way of thinking, my way of doing things, and my control over the thing. So it's all about my thing, you know. So the sky energy is somehow a non-conformist kind of energy. It's something that exists in us, and puts us in a place of non-conformity, and somehow the need of thinking differently, of looking for better solutions, just not accepting things as they are, because we can always do better. So this would be the mindset that we have when we are in like tuned with the sky element. Okay. In the other hand, we have the earth. The earth is the opposite. It's all receptivity. That's why Chinese call it receptive, because it's composed. The trigram is composed by three in lines: open, open, open. So like come, 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 and all these receptivity in Earth makes that Earth is a life sustainer, is fertile, is moldable, and is welcoming. Many people, when I ask them about what they feel about Earth, many people call it home. Okay, so you can understand how comfortable, how nourishing Earth is seen by us. And this also translates in human mindset, in a human mindset or kind of tune. So this receptivity translates in behaviors like total availability for serving and doing the best to sustain wherever is put in our hands. So now we compare the sky and the earth, and okay. So we have these two opposite energies, and when we are tuned to the sky, we are non-conformist. So no, it could be different. We could do it better. So we start innovating, or we can be tuned more with the earth mindset, and okay, let's do it. I just give me work and I do whatever is needed. So I wrap my sleeves and I just start working, whatever it is. It is to do 10, I do 10. It is to do 100, I do 100. So total receptivity. So this we can see here in these two energies also not so nice sides, right? Because when we are tuned to sky, too much into the sky, we may look a little bit arrogant, like we don't, nothing is good for us. Okay. On the other hand, when we are too much on Earth, we don't protect ourselves. We can't protect ourselves from toxicity. So we receive so much. We are so open, so receptive that sometimes it's easy to abuse from us, to put trash on us, and we can't protect ourselves from that trash. So there is also this downside in each element. Okay, so I will move on and we can talk about it later. Now the wind. The opposite elements here are wind and thunder. We start by the wind. In English, it's called the gentle. Okay, in Portuguese, o suave. And what is wind about? Wind is air, but it's not closed air. It's air in movement. It's free air. So the nature of the wind is a free one. And when the air is moving, it influences, it transports, it has no boundaries. And we really can't see the wind, but we know that the wind is there because we see the effect that wind has on objects. And when we translate it into human characteristics or human behaviors, we can see the wind operating on people through their need of freedom, through their need of transporting and influencing people and bringing some ideas from one place to another place, applying knowledge that we brought from a place to another context. And usually the wind mindset makes us good conflict mediators, for example, because we use this freedom to know people better, to know the universe, the world that is inside people's heads. And when it comes to solve a conflict, it's easy for someone that spends a lot of time in a wind state to put those different points of view together, because it can translate the language from one person, the meanings of one person in something that has meaning and is understandable by other person. So that's why the wind makes us very good mediators in conflicts. But it helps in a lot of things, like when we have to explain an idea in a way that everybody understands, when we have to position a product in a market, and we need to know how the market will understand the values associated with that product. So it is useful in many contexts. But it also has a downside, because if we need so much freedom in order to be wind, we probably will fail in some commitments and in the materialization, the concreteness of many things that we are dreaming about. And that's where the thunder plays an important role. Okay, the thunder, the Chinese call it the arousing. and it's a not so gentle element, right? As we can imagine, it's abrupt and noisy. Okay, it scares, although it energizes, but it's a kind of scary. Many people is afraid of the thunder. But it's also important to understand the role of the thunder in nature. Usually the thunder comes when you have an imbalances of electric charges. And the thunder restores that balance by making ions travel from one place to the other, and the balance is restored. So this reactive nature of the thunder, which is not a smooth or gentle one, it's very important to avoid entropy, to avoid chaos. And you can see it very expressively in some people that feels comfortable in a mindset of thunder. So when we are in this mindset, when we are tuned to with the thunder, all our attention is on the the accomplishment or not of the goals that we propose to, that we committed to, in the respect for the rules and the norms and everything that we accorded. So every time that something goes out of the line, everything and things start moving away from what was established as a commitment, as an you know, if we are in thunder, we will be the first to make the alarms sound and say, this is not right, we should do this way. Okay, so this element, although is not a gentle and nice one, it's also very important in organizations. I could tell you that at least in Portugal, because we have different cultures, of course, and thunder, although we have many people well connected with the thunder element, we have much more people connected with the wind element. So as you can imagine, those that are more connected with the thunder live in hell, surrounded by so much wind, you know. So they spend all the time spreading the thunder all around, and it's not nice for those that are traveling through the wind, you know. And many conflicts happen here in Portugal because of this conflict between wind and thunder mindsets. I don't know how it is in your countries, but at least here in Portugal, this is a cultural conflict that exists abundantly in our companies and our organizations. So let's talk a little bit about water. Okay, water, the Chinese call it the abysmal. And it can be also related with other meanings like the resilient, like instinct, you know. It can be interpreted in many ways. But how do we see water? Water, first, is unstoppable. It circumvents all the obstacles, always find its way down, because in fact, water always goes down. If it goes up, it's not water anymore, it's vapor. But when in a liquid state, the water is always finds its way down, and it's obstinate, you know, like the waves against the rocks. You know, we in Portugal have this this saying that is soft water against hard rock beat so much that ends up breaking and making a hole. So if water in movement is seen this way, and we try to translate it in human mindsets or human behaviors, we could make this association between water and our resilience, our persistence, our stubbornness, and our focus on reaching goals. Okay, so some people are more aligned with this and easily call the water into them, but for some other people it's much more difficult to find this kind of energy inside of them. The opposite element to water is fire. Okay, fire is for many cultures seen as a purifier. So it destroys selectively. It destroys what is not good and keeps what is good. For example, when we burn a kind of needle to take something for ours from our skin, we are not destroying the needle. We are just destroying the germs. And the fire has this nature of discriminating. Okay, so it spreads on multiple fronts, involves everything it catches. It's selective in what it destroys and releases a lot of energy. When we try to translate it into human behaviors, we see it by these, especially by this kind of judgmental side. Let me explain. If the fire brings the judge into us, the one that looks for the wrong and the right, to discriminate, to purify, to make things better, to make things more just, you need to cross to establish a threshold between the good and the bad. And in order to establish that threshold, you need to have knowledge, you need to have information to know where exactly the threshold should be drawn. And that information comes from the learning and your thirst for knowledge and information. Just like the fire that tries to embrace more and more and more and spreads in all directions, trying to incorporate everything that finds in its way. So the fire energy on people is like this: knowing more and more and more, getting more and more information, being in constant growth in order to be better judged, to be more wise, to know better what is good and what is bad, and make this separation. So it brings ethics, it brings justice, it brings a lot of value-based things into the organizations. Okay, the mountain. Chinese call it the steel, and it's easy. We just close our eyes and we imagine ourselves on the mountain, and it's easy to understand that mountain brings this serenity, this calmness. So the mountain as an element is timeless. In fact, I can share an aha moment with you. It was about 2 years ago, and I was in a high mountain, huge stone made of granite, looking to another one, and there was a small village near the top of the other mountain, and suddenly I had this feeling that, my goodness, this mountain is here from timeless. It was there always, and the village, with all the people that live on that village, surely a lot of generations lived on that village and had a lot of dramas, quite dramatic moments, quite dramatic experiences. And when you see it in the face of the mountain, although it was so overwhelming for people that were living those experiences, for the mountain it means nothing, you know, because the mountain was always there, watching people living and dying, and everything happening, and I suddenly felt so insignificant in all my personal dramas. So that's the mountain kind of mindset. So it provides this panoramic view in all directions, to the past, to the future, you know, and this quietness and this distance that allows us um, to put everything in um, oh I don't find the word. Perspective. Okay, that's the word. Put everything into perspective. So when we translate it into human characteristics, that's what mountains. That's how mountains operates in us. It makes us distant. It makes us logic and objective about things, because we are not susceptible of being overwhelmed by the small things of everyday life. So some people has this um, easiness of going to a mountain mindset to to get distance from things, see things from perspective, and make plans in the long term, because they easily don't get disturbed by the small things and small events that usually disturbs or troubles our thought. Um, and on the opposite side of the mountain, we have the lake. Okay, Chinese call it the joyous. Okay, and what can we say about the lake? The lake is plastic. It takes the shape of the valley it's embedded. Um, and it's also like a mirror. It reflects everything that is around it, as we can see in the picture. It's also revitalizing. Animals go there to drink water, to restore energy, and so that's why lake also attracts life. It's a kind of place of peace and joy. Um, and when we try to translate it into human characteristics and human behaviors, um, we should see it as something that helps people to be strongly in touch with everything around. And sometimes people are in a lake state, and when they are in a lake state, they really are very responsive to everything. They can be very responsive to a state, to an emotional state of a person, but also to the context, and also to many other stimuli. So the lake makes us or helps us to be this responsive, very adaptable, and to have the right and more adjusted response to the circumstance, including when you have someone that is very sad. If you are in a lake state, you can say you perceive the need of that person, and you give to that person exactly what that person needs to be happy on that moment. Okay, so that's why this match to the initial Diospyros model, to the talents needed for customer service, because sometimes customers come with all the anger that comes from a bad experience with the product. And if you have someone with a lake mindset on the other side, it will be like like a pillow that will absorb the energy and will listen to the person and give the person something that makes the person feel happy and converts the person to the brand. So no matter how the person comes, the lake transforms that person into a real client and a fidelized client of the brand. So now imagine being attentive to so many stimuli, how overwhelming it can be. So it's not unusual to find people suffering from burnout, a lot of stress, a lot of anguish, when they spend too much time in a lake state. So usually what I do to those people is bring them to the mountain, you know, to get perspective, and to not be so overwhelmed and suffer with so many little things. So the person may think in a more logical way. So those were the 8 elements. Okay, let me just open the window. Okay. If you have any question, you can put it now, and I can help you to clarify. Okay.
Yes, one question from Vienna.
Yes.
How do you apply it in your work with teams?
Yeah, with teams. Okay. Yes. When when I explain to the team members about these elements, it's easy, very easy for them to see in themselves and on the colleagues which elements are more present in their behaviors. We also usually make this connection between the more abundant energy in a team and the lacking energies in the team, and how much those energies are needed for the team to respond to the challenges they have to face. So instead of a traditional performance assessment, I usually do this kind of assessment. Together with the teams, we try to see if, for example, for me, it's easier to go to the wind or to the lake. Okay, it means that sometimes it is difficult for me to commit. It's difficult for me to get distant enough to make a logic planning on my work. Okay, so in the team, it will be easier for the team to understand what those elements bring to me as talents, and why it is so difficult for me to be as good as some other of them in other things, you know. So it will be easier for the team to complement each other, to work together. Okay, if I see that that it is difficult for you because it's so easy for you to be in a wind state and so difficult for you to be in a thunder state, well, it is easy for me to be in a thunder state, so I can help you. I can help you to be in a thunder state in a non-reactive way. Okay, because all of us can be everything, right? I can be thunder as well as I can be wind. But if wind is more natural for me, I will be more how to say agile on using it. Okay, if thunder is not so easy, not so natural for me, and if I still have to learn how to do it, I will do it in an imbalanced way. It's like, you know, in Chinese martial arts, we try to be very grounded, you know, with both feet on the ground, because if we are not, we won't keep we won't be able to resist to the attacks, and we may fall very very easily. So that's what happens when we are not so comfortable with some element. We are not well grounded, and when we try to go there, we probably will fall. When we fall, for example, when we fall to a thunder position, we will probably be too aggressive, because it's not a natural thing for us. So we do it in an angry manner. So when I work with teams on the development of teams, all these become very transparent, very easy to everybody to understand, and people become more connected, more respectful to each other, because it's in fact it's not very fair or very honest to use the talents and the energies that are natural for some people, and being so resistant to accept the, the, the downsides of those talents and those natures. So it's not honest from our part to use the good side and reject the bad side of it. It makes all part of the same nature. So I may use I have a team member that is very easy for him or for her to tune with the water, and that's why we have such a resilient and persistent team, that we don't fail the objectives. We will always find a flexible way of getting there, okay? And we all benefit from this talent from our colleague. But then we are calling it stubborn all the time. Oh, you are so stubborn. Of course he's stubborn, because his water nature makes him be stubborn. That's what is all about. The stubbornness and the resilience and the persistence is made of the same element, the same nature. So it really helps people to become more honest on how they deal with each other, you know. So in practice, I do team discussions, team coaching about this kind of elements. I make the periodic performance assessments using this. For example, if a person says in an evaluation that it was hard for her or hard for him to solve this kind of problem, to deal with this thing, we make the connection with the elements, okay, with the Diospyros, and we say, okay, I see. It's being difficult for you to, for example, to tune to the sky. What can we do on the next months so you can train and make the sky become more natural?